The overall goal of the Bee Integrated Demonstration Project is to tell the stories of growers and beekeepers working together to improve outcomes on the farm and in the hive. And a lot of that starts with a phone call or by walking through a field together. And that relationship is really important.
We've been a founding funder of the Honeybee Health Coalition since the beginning, so that's something we're really proud of. And one of the main reasons that we're such a believer in that particular organization and the work they do is because it's based on the belief that bee health is challenged by many factors that interact. It's not one thing, unfortunately. It's not one thing that we can fix and create this solution magically. It's really hard work working together, looking at this interdisciplinary and multi-factor issue. That said, Bee Integrated was intended to be representative of that. We had several initiatives within the coalition that were sort of focused within specific areas like forage and nutrition or crop pest management, pesticide best practices, or hive management. And myself and two other key partners of mine, part of the coalition, sat down over dinner one day, as many things happen over a good meal and beverage, and we said, how are we doing anything different? If we don't come up with something like Bee Integrated, we're no different than any other group out there. And so our challenge became then, how do we really take all of those best practices and put them in the same place at the same time? And that's the core of what Bee Integrated is about. So how do we address bee nutrition and forage access at the same time we're addressing hive management, at the same time we're doing our very best relative to crop management and the pesticide products that are used? And if we put all of that together and have people working together on the landscape, that should play out into what we see today for Bee Integrated and better bee health overall. So that's the core of what Bee Integrated is.
Central Iowa beekeeper Lynn Wilbur tries to keep lines of communication open with local farmers, and he's happy to help them with timing suggestions to minimize contact with his bees.
Quite often we'll get a call saying we're going to spray this particular field that's within our 2-mile radius. And some of that is mandated based upon our laws in Iowa to have contact. Sometimes I'll get it even though technically a farmer themselves that's applying is not subject to our rules and regs. And basically what I tell them is the earlier in the day or the later in the day that you can do it, the better for us. I don't find it worthwhile to close up hives, and so far I haven't had any major loss that I can attribute specifically to pesticide application. So it's just a case of talking to whoever is doing the application and saying, you know, if you do it at first light, probably the bees won't be flying. If you can do it toward dusk, again, probably won't be flying. And that's about the best we can do. Well, the first thing is that I thank them for calling me. I appreciate that they're doing that and that they recognize that this is a potential issue. It's not just they have to do it because of rules and regs. This is good for them, it's good for us. So that's the first thing I do, is say, thank you very much for calling. I really appreciate this. And this is why, and I try to give them some rationale for why I think it's important that we know about this. I may not be able to do a lot about it, but I can tell them the good and the bad things that they should and shouldn't do. So, I mean, and you know, the local farmers, we tend to give honey to them, just to keep the relationship going. That we want that to happen. So, we have some farmers close to us that have basically are contracting for other farmers, and we try to develop those relationships. So,
another aspect that I really want to highlight here is the value of what farmers are doing, farmers and ranchers are doing, and adding habitat to an existing farm. There's a program where they're doing a lot of research on adding prairie strips into land that's highly erodible. And those prairie strips stabilize the soil, provide the critical habitat for pollinators in strips. Corn, soybeans are alternate in that, but there are government payments, CRP payments for these strips, and so the farmer gets some money compensated for that. Yeah, they do take some land out of production, but they're also compensated by a CRP payment. So there's a huge amount of research going on in the value of prairie strips. I know that they're talking about actually setting up commercial operations in these prairie strip sites, and they're doing some research on that as we speak. So, but farmers leaving corners of the fields is important. You know, unfarmable corners are good. Not mowing the ditches is good. Fence rows, all those places are nectar sources as well as pollen sources. So the more quote unquote waste areas that a farmer has, they can leave it for whatever reason, the better off it is for our pollinators, including honeybees.
You can complain about the insects not having pollinators, or you can do something about it. We enjoy walking around it. We keep walking paths mowed. We enjoy looking at it, and as well as that, we might be helping with the solution. We don't have to look for a direct benefit. We don't have a direct benefit, but there's an indirect benefit.